We're back, joined now by the Long Beach City Auditor, Laura Doud. Welcome back, Laura.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
I believe this is your 7th visit, first time as a candidate running for this office, and then you've been good enough to come each year for the last 6 years with kind of an annual report consistent with your concept of accountability. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me back each year. It's always a pleasure to reach out to the public and let them know what we're doing.
Our first segment dealing with volunteerism and Hank Feldman, I know that's something near and dear to your heart.
Yes, it is. Thank you. What a nice segment that was, and appreciate all of his volunteerism throughout the community. And as you know, I was good friends with Mark Bixby. I met him in 7th grade at Hill Junior High School, and he's just an extraordinary individual who has volunteered so much of his time, energies, talent, skills, intellect, and devoted so much of himself to the community. And he's, quite an inspiration to me.
Mark was a great loss to our community, and you're absolutely right. He did so much for so many.
He really did.
Well, city budget time has rolled around again, and the city has faced the need to cut some $18 million, but it looks like it's bit that bullet.
Yes, the city is making good progress. You know, it seems like every year that I come back to talk to you about the budget, it's a problem that the city continues to face. I think it will continue to face as there's uncertainty nationwide with the housing market and unemployment and consumer confidence and so forth. So as that uncertainty exists, our revenues continue to slow down, and they're not exactly where they should be or where we'd like them to be. But you know, we as city leaders really need to come together to make sure that we are as efficient and effective as possible, making sure that we're collecting all the money that's due to the city and making sure that we're using the taxpayers' dollar of, the best, to get the best value for them. And, in response to your question, I think one of the biggest, most significant events that's taken place in the city over the past year is the POA deal with the City Council and
pension
Mayor.
reform.
Yes, with the pension reform, that the POA did agree to pay their employee contribution of their pension costs, which was huge. It was great. Their contract wasn't open at the time, but they came to the table. They met with the mayor. The mayor met with the City Council, and together the whole team came to an agreement for the POA, all of the police union, to pay their total portion of their employee contribution to their pension costs. And as you know, this was a recommendation the mayor made a year ago, and it has now come to fruition. So it's a great victory for both sides, a great win for the community as a whole. Will save the city an enormous amount of money. And
in the future.
Yes, in the future, that's right. And I just would like to applaud all of them for a job well done.
Well, I think there's something very aesthetically satisfying about employees, not just the police, but all employees paying the employee share of the pension. The city pays its share, but for a bunch of historical reasons, in many cases, the city was picking up a lot, if not all, of the employee share. That just simply should not be. If it's the employee's share, they should pay it.
That's right, exactly. And the police have come to the table, and they now are. And I'd like to also add that our office, we have also come to the table, and my employees in my department were also paying our employees' share as well.
Well, you have also conducted some audits, and you mentioned the importance in tight budgetary times, but really even in flush times.
That's right.
There's no reason to waste money just because it's rolling in.
Thank you.
And I might say again, that the vote of the Long Beach City Council some 10 plus years ago to increase pensions by 30% because there was some extra money in PERS, one of the worst decisions and unsupportable decisions made by the council. And I would hope that if someone like you were in office at that time, you would have opined that this was not a wise thing to do.
Yes, you do. When there's a significant amount of money as that is, you always want to be as frugal as possible. So yes.
Well, I know that Proposition D passed, Measure D passed a year ago to change the formula for port transfers from 5% of net 10% of net profits to 5% of gross revenue.
Yes.
And that money goes to the Tidelands Fund.
Yes.
and tell us some of the audits that you've done.
Well, thank you. Yes, we wanted to make sure that our city's Tidelands Fund is operating just as efficiently as the general fund and all of the funds. So we did look at some audits this past year in the Tidelands Fund, and one of those was the marina rebuild. As you know, the Alamitos Marina rebuild has been in the planning stages for
forever.
Forever, basically over 10 years.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure that they had a solid financial plan on how they were going to pay for it, because they were in the process of incurring approximately $90 million worth of debt. So we wanted to make sure that the Marina Fund within the Tidelands Fund was sustainable, that could sustain that kind of debt. And we found that, that they didn't. They did not have a solid financial plan on how they were going to pay that debt back.
So as a result of that, they have segmented the rebuild into phases,
yes.
and the first phase has just started, and they can pay for that.
Yes, exactly right. So they've reconsidered their debt capacity and what they could handle. They have phased in the project according to funding that they have, and they've also put the city treasurer over the finances to monitor them, to ensure that everything is on schedule.
Well, I've always felt, and I've said publicly before, that having an independently elected city auditor like Long Beach does, one of the few cities that does, is a good thing. And here's another example of why that is.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more of our show after these messages.